Hello and welcome to the round 23 episode of OPSM What's Your Decision? I'm joined by AFL umpires manager Jeff Gieschen. Hi Jeff.
G'day Mark, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Now this week we're going to start on Saturday night with the North Melbourne and St Kilda clash. There's been a little bit of chat from disgruntled North supporters on the social networks, not happy about the way the umpiring went in this game. How did you see it from your point of view?
Well, we certainly saw it as a game with a lot of intensity, particularly at the start of the game. It had a finals-type atmosphere. Probably a couple of things early we could have done a little bit better. There's a couple of free kicks, and we'll probably see a couple of those today. But after half-time, we thought the umpires settled down and did a really good job. But, yeah, certainly there's always a couple of things in games. In this game, it happened to be a few things in the first half we could have done a little bit better.
Okay, well, let's have a look at a couple, and we'll start with a free kick to Nick Riewoldt during the second quarter. Lockie Hansen, and he went for the ball, and Hansen pinged here for chopping Riewoldt's arms. What do you think about that one?
Well, that's pretty elementary, I believe. I mean, you can see Riewoldt got his arms out to mark. You can see Hansen take him virtually across the bicep, between the shoulder and the bicep. That's your classical chopping of the arms, and from that point of view, it's a free kick. It was paid on the night, very comfortable with that free kick. So chopping of the arms, free kick. Okay,
happy with that one. Next one, Drew Petrie missed out on a free. He was in a marking contest with Zach Dawson. Yep. Looked like he might have actually taken the mark, and certainly maybe Dawson got a piece of his head here. What do you think about this one?
Oh, no doubt about this either. There should have been a free kick there. Yep. Mark, it certainly wasn't a mark because Drew hadn't completely controlled the ball, but Dawson reached across, got him across the shoulder, no doubt about that. And that's a pretty disappointing miss. I know the umpire at the time was probably got caught a little bit out of position behind that, but we'd like to think that one of the umpires somewhere would see that, because that was pretty obvious, and a missed free kick to Drew Petrie for high contact in a marking contest.
Okay, and next one we want to look at from this game, not so much for the free kick, but just want to talk to you and get your philosophy around how the umpires deal with situations like this. There's a push and shove, a lot of players involved, a lot of pushing and shoving going on, and then Brendan Goddard gets a free kick. How do the umpires decide what they're going to pay in a situation like this?
Well, they can only pay what they can see, and when players decide to wrestle on or get involved in a melee, obviously it's very difficult sometimes for the umpire to gain control. So we tell the umpires, look for the first high contact, look for the first prohibited contact, look for the first player to sling his player into the ground in a big hold and pay the free kick. I mean, we want the umpires to gain control out of that. There's nothing to gain by letting them keep wrestling and pushing and shoving. So if they see an obvious free kick, just pay it. And in that case there, what we saw with Goddard was, there's probably a couple of times he was taken high. One, a little push to the throat, neck area, and then when he went to ground, there was another contact around the head. So that's what the umpire saw. That's what he paid. And it wouldn't matter whether it was St Kilda or whether it was Kangaroos. The umpire, the first player that infringed, we want to pay a free kick to get the game started and break up any melee situation.
Yep, so you're happy with the way that was dealt with?
Oh, comfortable, yes.
Okay, good. Let's move on from that game for a minute. We'll come back to it shortly, but we want to go over to the Adelaide and Richmond game on Sunday. Yep. Alex Rance penalised, I think for the second time this season, for a deliberate rush behind. How did you read this?
Yes, well, Richmond were under a little bit of pressure. They hit the ball back to Rance. But he wasn't under immediate pressure at the time. We'll see that when the ball was hit back to him, he was pretty much in the clear, and he fumbled and bumbled the ball and took it across the line. And we've been asked to be really strong with players who force the ball across the scoring line, particularly when they're not under a great deal of pressure. And yes, we can argue he had a little bit of a fumble there, but I suppose the question the umpire asks is, what was his intent? Could he have picked that ball up a bit cleaner? Yes, it looks like he fumbles, but I wonder if it had been the other way around, he was a forward, would he have pounced on that ball and been able to get a kick, a goal away? I mean, that's hypothetical, I suppose, but we do know that players generally can pick the ball up when they're in the clear, and in this case, a bit of a fumble, but a little bit of intent to get the ball across the line. Comfortable with that, because we want all players to be aware that they have a responsibility to try and keep the ball in play, particularly when they're not under immediate pressure, and in this case, Rance wasn't under immediate pressure.
Okay, so we might then jump back to Saturday night. You say you've been asked to be strong on this one. I got the feeling you might have been a little bit disappointed that Jack Riewoldt wasn't penalised for Jack Ziebell, wasn't penalised for a deliberate rush behind when he did something fairly similar.
Yeah, no doubt, and we can see here Ziebell again very much in the clear. The ball bobbling towards him, about chest height, could have taken it cleanly. helped the ball on its way through for the goal. So this is one of the classical deliberate rush behinds where there's no intent to keep the ball in play or take possession. So should have been awarded a free kick there where the ball crossed the line, and it was a missed free kick to St Kilda. Should have been paid against Jack Zeeble. But, you know, again, this needs to serve as a warning to the players. We missed that one, but there's an expectation that they get ones like that because that's what deliberate rush is all about.
Right. Okay, a couple more to look at before we finish up for this week. Adelaide and Richmond, a kick-in. Trent Cotchin wasn't paid a mark or a free kick. Adelaide picked up and kicked a goal. Did you think Cotchin should have been awarded the ball here?
Yes, we do think he should have been awarded a free kick here. Initially, the player defending Van Berlo got his fist pretty close to the ball, as you can see, but then the arm came down strongly and interfered heavily against Cotchin's arm, made him spill the ball. Should have been a free kick for chopping of the arms, interfering with the arms, and it's certainly one that Adelaide got away with on that occasion. We'd need that to be paid all the time.
And next one, Port Adelaide and Essendon. Port fans not happy when Jack Trengove was penalised and Michael Hurley won a free kick and kicked a goal. What did you think about this one?
Yes, well, this was a clear case of Trengove knowing where his teammate was coming in from the side to assist him. We can see Trengove go back, look at his opponent Hurley, make body contact to try and keep Hurley out of the contest, but the umpire, as you can see, was in perfect side-on position here. He looks back, looks straight at his opponent, Hurley's got his eyes on the ball, and then you can see him actually move backwards, take his path, block him, and it's your classical block out in a marking contest. So very comfortable with a free kick paid for that.
And that's really the key there for anyone that was confused about that. The fact that he took his eyes off the ball, put it onto his opponent,
correct,
basically makes it an immediate infringement, doesn't it?
We don't actually pay it for the eyes on the opponent. That's a cue to the umpire that he's not going for the ball. It was when he then took his eyes or kept looking at his opponent and moved back into him and put his back and shoulder region into him to block him. That's what the infringement was for. So you can look at your opponent, but don't go making contact with him while you're looking at your opponent because the expectation is you play the ball, not the man.
Good. And final one for today, lots of discussion in the last few weeks, including on this show, about players having set shots for goal after the siren, what's acceptable, what's not. A lot of questions about what happens if Lance Franklin has a shot after the siren with his natural arc, as we call it. And finally, it happened on the weekend. He had a shot after the halftime siren, and we thought we might just show this and get you to talk us through it.
Yeah, well, as all your viewers would know, in recent weeks we have been talking about this because it's been topical. We can see the field umpire controlling the play on the mark where the Bulldogs player is standing. We see another field umpire directly behind Lance watching his kick in. His approach to kick and then his actual kick. Now, what we saw from that was Lance's natural arc, which was no different last week to Van Berlo's natural arc when he had that shot that all your viewers would have seen last week. So where they just go in their normal pattern towards goal, that's not an issue. Had Lance ducked off to the left and then stepped wide off his line, that's a play on call. But he certainly didn't do that, and that was fine. And I think if people look closely, he does kick over the man on the mark. When he does run out, you'll see how umpires wave their arms and call play on. So I just hope that puts that to bed because everybody's been speculating what'll Franklin do after the siren. Well, I think we saw quite clearly that what he did was fine. It was his natural arc, no different to a number of other players, and that was a legitimate shot on goal after the siren.
So Hawks fans, nothing to worry about if Buddy gets a shot to win the game after the siren on in the first Saturday in October. We're pretty confident that he's going to be okay with his natural approach. That's all we've got for you today, Jeff. Thanks very much for your time as always.
No problems, Mark.
And we'll see you next week for the round 24 edition of OPSM. What's your decision? If you've got a question out of this weekend's round of football, head to the AFL Twitter page, which is twitter.com/AFL. In the meantime, have a great week. We'll see you next time.